So welcome back to Piston Broke with Matt and Jim and Dotty, our 1977 Project MG Midget. So one of the next jobs in the workshop that we want to tackle, and this is one I've been putting off for a little while for no particular reason, is to deal with the suspension. So Dotty, as you may remember if you've been watching, was originally a rubber bumper car. When you remove somewhere in the region of about 50 kilos of rubber bumpers from the car, you obviously have quite a significant change in ride height. Excuse me, it's very humid here as well. I wish I could get Dotty under the cover in the air conditioning and work on her in the comfort, but anyway, here we are sweating outside, so apologise for the state of me. So, as I say, Dotty's had rubber bumpers removed and been fitted with chrome bumpers. The issue that leaves us with is the gap between the top of the tyre and the wheel arch. So, if I pop my handy rule here, there is 605 millimetres from road to the top of the arch, or for those of you watching in black and white, it's about 23 3/4 inches. We've got a distance between the top of the tyre and the top of the arch of about 4.5 inches. I mean, I can get my hand in there quite comfortably, which is a bit of a joke. Fine if you're building an off-roader, and if Dotty was a Land Rover, I'd be quite happy with that ground clearance, but I think we can improve upon that. Now, at the back, Dotty is a bit lower. I'm not entirely sure whether this is because the rear springs have sagged a little bit, or whether she's possibly been fitted with lowered springs at some point in the past. So if you can just see on there, as I say, the top of the tyre does disappear quite nicely in the arch. I have seen some other former rubber bumper midgets where, again, there's quite a height difference at the back. When you look down the length of Dotty, you can see the sill is not sitting parallel to the ground. There is definitely more room at the front than the back. So what I think I'm going to do is fit a lowering kit to the front suspension, drop the front down, give that a little while and a few miles to settle in, and then see how we go. The back kit, we've got the option of doing two different heights. So the lowering kit that Matt bought will give us 1.5 inch drop at the front, and we have the ability to do up to 1.5 inch drop at the back as well. We've got two spacers, a 1 inch and a 1/2 inch spacer. So we could put maybe just the 1/2 inch in, or the 1, and see how everything looks. So we'll play about that with a little bit. But I think what we're going to do first of all is to do the front, as I say, and see how she looks. So I'll give you a quick tour of the kit we're going to fit, and then we'll crack on with jacking her up, removing the road wheels, and get the lowering kit installed. Okay, so we've got Dotty now jacked up, popped her in gear, jacked her up, axle stands underneath, got her well supported just to make sure that everything's nice and safe. So these are the bolts which we'll be removing on the bottom of the spring pan, and we'll be fitting the spacer in between this bottom plate, oops sorry, holding the camera in my hand, and the spring pan there. Now it's slightly complicated on Dotty by the fact that she's fitted with an anti-roll bar, and this link here, which goes from one side of the lower suspension mount to the other, stops me getting the trolley jack in properly to support the spring pan. So what I'm going to do is to unbolt this bracket here, and the same on the other side, which holds the lower shock mount, so that we can drop this little sort of strengthening bar out of the way, which will allow me to get up in there under the spring a little bit better. I don't think we need to remove the anti-roll bar completely, we just need to undo these brackets, as I say, at each end. So we'll go ahead and get those removed, and then we can have a look at the next stage after that. so I didn't actually need to take the bottom shock mount off at all. Okay, so I've now removed this stabiliser bracket from under there. So I'm going to have a little tidy up of the tools, and then the next part is to support the spring pan under here so that we can reduce the pressure on these 4 bolts, hopefully while keeping the spring captive. And then we can start to fit the lowering kit. Okay, so the 4 bolts that we need to remove to replace with the spacer washers are these ones here. So there's 1, 2 there, the 3rd one you can just see there, and the 4th one behind. So what I've already done is removed all of the anti-roll bar linkage, the bar that runs underneath the bottom arm here to take the bottom of the telescopic shock. So you can just see that if I move the camera around. The mounting is there. So we've taken out the bolt and just moved the telescopic shock out the way. So I've given them a little blast with penetrating fluid. What I'm going to try to do is to loosen off the nuts a little bit. Then we'll put the trolley jack in underneath the spring pan and support that, because obviously we don't want the spring to come loose. And then by removing 1 bolt, loosening the 2 on the other side, that should give us just enough room then to be able to insert the spacer. So these are the bolts of the spacer. So as you can see, we've got the little spacer piece, and this will sit between the lower arm and the spring pan. Okay, so just getting the trolley jack into position. I'm using a nice big socket just to fit it inside the spring pan there, just to help support that equally. So we're taking the weight of the spring pan now. We can now go ahead and take out these bolts. So what I've done with the other 2 is just loosened them off, but I'm not taking them out just yet. To allow the spring pan still to be retained by those 2 bolts. Okay, so new 2 bolts, and I've got 2 now loosened off. So what I'm going to do now really carefully is just to lower the trolley jack ever so slightly, which hopefully will give us some clearance to fit the bolts in. Into position. that's 2 bolts in place now. What I'm going to do now is just make sure the trolley jack is taking the weight of the spring pan again. Okay, so that one pinged apart with a bit of force. That caught me a little bit by surprise. Luckily, everything important was out of the way. Just goes to show that even though there's the trolley jack under it, it's still under a bit of tension. Now, see if I can get the washer on there as well. I think what I may need to do is just draw up the other bolts a little bit, just to give it enough room to get that washer on there. So hopefully now, yeah, we've got enough room to get the washer and the last nut on that back bolt. So we'll go ahead and add that one now. I don't know if it's just me getting used to it, but it did seem to be significantly easier to do this side than it was on the last side. Apologies, I've just realised the work light's shining on the camera there, so you may not have seen much there. Did have a bit of an issue with the other side with a very rusted out seized bolt, which I had to grind out, so that did take a little bit of time to improvise a solution for removing that. All of these fixings a good check, just make sure everything's good and tight on there. Okay. So that's all of the spring pan bolt fixings in there now. So we can go ahead and remove the trolley jack. Drop that back out of the way. And what I need to do now is to refit the bracket for the bottom shock absorber mount. go ahead now and get this bracket up into place. I'm just going to bring the trolley jack back in just to give a little bit of help levering the bottom of this bracket. Right now, quite a tight fit in there. So. Okay, so some of these holes are a little bit tight, so what I think I'm going to do is just run a drill bit through, just give us a little bit of clearance on there, just to make sure that everything's lining up easily without too much trouble. And then I think we're pretty much there. Of course, first of all, ensuring that the anti-roll bar drop link bracket goes back on as well. Because when everything seems to be going back together easily, it means you've forgotten something. Working upside down, which is never easy. So we've got all the brackets bolted back up now. Just need to nip up the shock mount. Okay, that's good. It's all tightened back up now. So what we'll do now, pop the wheels back on. We'll drop Dotty back down to the ground and we'll have a little measure and see how much we've reduced the ride height by.
So, as you can see, after all of Jim's work, we finally got Dotty back together, and the suspension lowering spaces that he fitted haven't actually made a blind bit of difference. Earlier on, I measured from the road back up to the bottom of the wheel arch, and it was 605 millimeters again, which was quite frustrating. And yeah, as you can see, I can fit my hand right the way in here. So yeah, I tried to sort of see if front needed to settle down, and our conclusions really is that the front spacers that we fitted haven't done anything. I've been online, I've checked, I've tried to touch base with the manufacturer. We've done everything correctly. Yeah, it's just resulted in no difference in the ride height. So yeah, we're scratching our heads a little bit on this one. I'm looking now at the thought of getting some chrome bumper springs, or from the MG Owners Club, there are some fast road springs, which should hopefully lower down Dotty. Yeah, so I'm afraid to say we're no closer to a solution. So look forward to another video coming up in the future where I'll do a spring conversion. But for now, sadly, no job ticked off the list.